hate pod.
Oh.
To be fair, to be fair, we've been doing this for more than a year. I think that's the first fumbled intro.
Leave it in.
Usually it's a one taker.
Yeah, that's a
rare L.
That's at least the way that it's been cut.
Ollie Wugmore. No, shit, Lugmore, damn it.
Also sounded like a racial slur, to be quite honest with you.
Well, Wugmore.
Yeah. Shall I try again?
Yeah.
Please.
Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
It turns out that every time you've done that, it takes you like 20, 30 attempts to get it.
30 takes. I'm actually usually pretty good on a single take.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's only one time. Have I told the story before about doing the story on weed legalization in Washington, D.C.? Have I told that on the podcast before?
I don't think so.
We were doing a story about the guy who led the campaign to decriminalize weed in Washington, and then he led the campaign to decriminalize all drugs in Washington. And so we went to his house and interviewed him. And part of the interview, we rolled a joint from his own homegrown operation, including actually his own tobacco that he grew and dried, which I think may have been the reason that it spun my head so much. So anyway, we rolled joints, we smoked them, we filmed the interview, and then we decided we were going to do the PTC out the front of his house.
Brilliant planning.
Yeah. And I
textbook
could not get through a whole sentence. So we started, I put my sunglasses on because the camera op was like, you look out of it, and it's obviously the PT will come at the beginning. Put your sunglasses on, try and do it again. Tried again, couldn't do it. He was like, we're going to do it sentence by sentence. I'm going to read it to you and we'll just edit it. We'll just cut it in between each one for you. Fucking got in the car and then fell asleep for like 5 hours on the drive onwards. It was bad. But other than that, I'm usually pretty good. One take, I would say.
Your LBC show isn't live. It's stitched together after 9 hours.
Yeah, it's all pre-recorded.
All your phone-ins are actors.
They're actually false flags. They're agitators.
False flags.
Ava Santina, how are you?
I'm better. I pulled my back on Friday.
Right.
Doing Pilates. She was too much, this instructor. And she was like...
What were you having to do?
Okay, so I explained this to the boys earlier. So basically, you have like a flat thing. This bit doesn't move on the reformer, and then this bit moves like this. So you had your feet on there, and then you move the carriage so that you go into a plank.
Oh, okay.
And then she was like, you can do it where you lay flat. And I was like, listen, I can't.
Yeah.
Leave me in my plank. Anyway, she pushed me, and then I was like, oh. And now I can't move. So
you pulled a muscle in your back, did you do?
Yeah. And so like all day Saturday, I could not move from the floor.
Oh.
And it was like one point I was like scheduled to do the radio, and I was like, it's fine, I can do it on the floor. And they were like, we're going to really need you in vision.
Holding your phone above you like that.
Yeah. And you know how it was like really, really hot over the weekend?
Yes,
like the only way to like make your back better is to like use a shit ton of deep heat. So I was just like, I'm so hot. It's so hot.
Dear. Well, glad you're mobile. Glad you're with us now.
Yeah. I just smell like deep heat. Like I'm quite stressed that people think that that's like a scent I've chosen.
Does deep heat have an application? The only time I remember anyone using it was like in the school changing rooms, and even then, its primary use just appeared to be sort of terrorising other people,
blinding children.
Yeah, well, that's really help.
People just like coming up to you and like spraying it in your face.
It's just like muscle relief.
What does it do?
It's
muscle relaxant.
It's just like
it's like poppers.
It makes it so hot that like I guess your muscles relax.
Thank God we're scientists.
Yeah.
Yes.
I actually am in STEM.
And deep freeze, it makes it cold to relax it.
How's it like poppers?
Because it's muscle relaxant.
Do you huff deep heat?
You put it on your
That's a
arsehole?
joke, I wasn't being
serious. I think that would be really
That would be
painful.
awful.
I don't think you put the poppers on your arsehole. I think you inhale the poppers, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, it didn't help my back this weekend, let me tell you.
I saw an international rugby player, won't say which one, taking poppers at a nightclub in Edinburgh.
But they're not illegal, are they?
No, but just funny.
You could buy them from you can buy them quite widely in Soho, but they're really, the newsagents that sell them are like really funny about it. Like you go in and you'll be like, can I have some of them? And then they'll be like, don't know what you're talking about. Give me the poppers. And they're like, all right, the jig is up.
Well, I'll sell you this product, which we have front and centre on the counter.
Yeah. No, because the good stuff is behind the
good stuff.
The high grade.
Yeah.
The high grade stuff.
The nuclear grade poppers.
Yeah, it depends who you're going out with. Like, how relaxed does my arsehole need to be?
God, absolutely. Poo's going to fall out of you after that.
What's wrong with you?
Good weekend, Ed?
You heard about the poppers. Yeah, no, it was really nice. The sun was out.
Yeah, it was.
So lovely. Really good.
Isn't it mad how that one bit of sunshine can just wash away all your internal angst, existential dread?
I was with my Australian cousins on Thursday, and one of them was saying, and their girlfriend who's also from Australia, it was their first British winter, and they were like, do you feel as bad as that? Like, are you used to it? I was like, no, it's hell. It's so bleak. And then
you're also looking at them like, you should fucking come to Glasgow, pal.
Yes, absolutely.
You'll learn a thing or two about vitamin D intake.
We can't biologically get enough.
But it's really pleasant until December. And then I think I think it's quite nice, when it's getting colder and you're like, oh, getting my coats out, bit of rain, lovely.
I like December.
Yeah.
It's once you get after Christmas.
No, but there's 2 weeks after Christmas where you think, this isn't as bad as I remember it.
And then February comes. Yeah. And it's bleak.
It's when the clocks change, that's when it's like really bad. Not into that.
Because in the bleak midwinter is not even a Christmas carol, really. It's actually about February.
Sorry, did I just gloss over? Are you with Peter Hitchens on the abolition of British summertime?
Is that what he believes?
I think he's all in on GMT 24/7 365.
I'll have to look more into it. I haven't really thought that much about abolishing it.
Sorry.
But as I thought, like, it's always when that's when it's worst. After that point, it feels.
When the clocks go forward, that's usually for me like fucking on. It's summer. Here we go.
No, that's the good one.
Oh, sorry.
So when in winter,
October.
Yes, when the clocks go back,
right.
That's when it gets really dark when you get up.
Do you get paid an extra hour on LBC?
No, but I don't do an extra hour on LBC. Clive does.
Ah.
He gets, but no, because he also does when he has to do 1 hour less. So it's just flat. It's just flat fee.
Who's Clive?
Clive Bull.
Clive Bull.
Clive Bull.
You should watch
Nightcaller.
Your Nightcaller.
What's Nightcaller?
It's you. Also, don't go and watch it now. But after you've watched this,
no,
go and watch
please
that.
do the podcast. Yeah. Watch it after the
watch
podcast.
Watch it after. It's like one of the best bits of the cinema you'll ever see.
It's a documentary about Clive. He's used to do late nights on LBC, but now everyone does a 3 hour show.
Yeah.
He would do like 6 to 8 hours.
Holy shit.
Through the night. And yeah, very personal relationships with a lot of his listeners. People like send him shit.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's really cool.
And they were still doing it on tape. And also like there's like bits in it where she's answering the phone. She's got like that's actually exactly how they still do it. So I don't know why.
She's wearing headphones.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good though. Worth your time.
Oh, it's so good.
Main pod? Should we
main pod?
Yeah, should we move on?
Should we begin the podcast?
Discuss the rundown?
Yes.
Ed.
Yes.
Encampments. Discuss.
I was in Cambridge on Friday at one of the many encampments that have sprung up at universities around the UK protesting the war and genocide in Gaza.
Was it good going back to your alma mater?
I'm a really proud Cambridge interviewee, so I thought it was really good to go.
Did you get to interview?
Yeah, I did actually. I meant to say applicant there because like interview sounds like I'm actually more smug about it than I should be.
I tried to get into Oxford. I didn't even get to interview.
Also interviews less, to be fair.
I didn't get past my teachers. Like when they decide who's applying. Like,
Ava, sweetie, don't waste one of your applications.
Yeah.
They didn't let you.
You think they'd back you?
Well, it was a really, really shit college, to be fair. And
yeah, but if that's the case, surely they'd be like, fucking, we got an interview this year, fellas. Or, I mean, maybe not, but you think they'd be supporting you to doing it.
The thing is that I had the grades, but I was so terribly behaved that I think they thought I would go there and like really show them up.
I suppose also from their perspective, they'd probably rather 5 offers from 5 universities they can put towards their cumulative total for the year versus 4 out of 5.
No one got in, just to be clear.
Yeah.
What did they ask you about in your Cambridge interview?
Oh, it was, do you know when I didn't realise how underprepared I was until I got there. As in, for my school, not many people actually went to Oxford and Cambridge. And like when you hear about schools have like, if you're applying to Oxford and Cambridge at like an English public school, they have like a whole A level essentially on how to get Oxbridge.
They hothouse you.
My school was like, here's a mock interview that bore no relevance to what actually happened. I turned up and they gave me a passage of Rousseau to read. I'd literally never read any philosophy at any point in my life. I'd really going, I'm fucked. This is, I don't think it's curtains for me. I'm not sure what I can do. Read it for half an hour, went in and had a discussion about Rousseau. And that was that.
Oh, so sorry. So I thought when you said they asked you to read it, they were asking you to like read aloud in front of them. No. So it's like, here's the philosophy.
Half an hour to study.
Digest the philosophy.
Yep.
And then come and discuss it with us.
Come and discuss it. And I was like, ooh, we can skip this, guys. I'm not sure.
What did you discuss?
I've got no idea. Like,
he didn't have an idea then, he still doesn't now.
Should we do it now? Should we get up a piece of philosophy?
I think I might do better now with a degree in politics.
I'll give you something and then you have to give me your fallout.
Yeah, please
Okay,
pull
so-
something up. I like as well that we were like, no, we'll give the first half of the podcast. Ed can talk about his work, and within about 5 minutes, we've been like, no, go over into the corner, read this philosophy for half an hour, and then come back and tell us what you've learned.
Then we can quiz it.
You ready?
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, Kinga was a contestant on Big Brother. After a few bottles of wine, she took one of the empty bottles, she walked out into the garden, and she put the bottle of wine inside herself.
Yep.
And this was filmed on many cameras. Mm-hmm. What does this tell us about Foucault's prison?
That was an iconic moment. Do you remember that?
I actually don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
I know it happened, but I didn't watch it.
I feel like there was another of someone else wanking on Big Brother that happened, and then there was the threesome in the hot tub.
You just lose your mind.
It was a different time back then.
I
wasn't
don't think there's no like. I think it's like when that one who won the British pageant or whatever went on Love Island, and then she had sex.
Oh, the Miss GB woman.
Yeah, and then she got her crown was taken away from her.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah, and I'm like that. I don't really think that's that bad that she had sex on TV under a duvet.
No.
But if you were the person who took an empty wine bottle out into the Big
garden.
Brother garden,
the middle of the garden,
shoved it up your fanny.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually really unfair that girl got her crown taken.
Oh, it's
away.
atrocious.
Yeah. Because that's like sort of, they put them in the hideout as well, didn't they? They weren't even like in like the public
No, it was just
bedroom.
It was just slut shaming.
Yeah, she was like in a private room, wasn't she? No one asked you to put it on telly.
No.
Or you could have alluded to it and then let the public question. Did they not?
Yeah.
I don't know. If you're going to have a problem with that, then you I think you've already lost the argument as whatever it was, Miss GB, because the show is called Love Island. Mm-hmm. It's about fucking necking people, isn't it? So what did you expect to happen? I mean, it's the whole purpose of being on the show, isn't it?
Yeah, but from like Miss GB, like it's fine that she did it, and then Miss GB official, whoever the team is behind Miss GB.
Whoever the absolute freaks who are still taking pageants seriously actually sat down, had a board meeting and decided
this is damaging for the brand.
Yeah.
Oh, crisis meeting.
It's like, are you telling me that like the event with a swimsuit competition?
She has violated code 3 of the code for Miss GB. You can't give blowjobs if you're Miss GB.
This is it, isn't it? It's like no, she shattered the illusion that this is anything other than like she's fulfilled the thing. She's gone all the way through it. She's actually had sex. She hasn't been the like virginal woman. Yeah, she looks great in a swimsuit, but actually it's about fucking charity work and
like Britney, early Britney. She was the virgin who was like also presented as like a sex object. But the second that she stopped wearing the chastity belt or chastity ring or whatever she had with Justin Timberlake. I fucking loved that in her book where she was just like, we were fucking all the time.
It's like she's in the room.
That was a great impression. Shall we try and talk about the encampments again?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah?
Round 2.
So what happened, Ed? What's been going on? Is the contagion? I think Gillian Keegan called it a contagion.
A contagion?
Yeah, I think she said it was a contagion. These protests, that there's a risk that the ugly scenes we've seen in the US might spill over to the UK's own campuses.
I think that's quite unlikely.
Why?
Personally, I think there isn't that antagonistic a relationship between student protesters and British universities. We haven't seen anything like the police response to the American protests and encampments at any point in British history.
The Cambridge Dons haven't sent in the clowns yet.
No.
in the same way.
And also as well, there's not like a
far right agitators storming the barricades. It's not quite the same. It has to be said.
And also it's like I think the risk of ugly scenes, whether or not ugly scenes or like massive repression of these encampments happens, is entirely within the gift of the state, and it seems incredibly unlikely that they're just going to send in armed police to kick the shit of like 40 students at various Russell Group universities. It just seems like something that's not going to happen in Britain.
So what is the vibe on the ground? Placid? Calm?
Chill. Everyone's hanging out. It was roasting in Cambridge, and so it was at King's College, Cambridge, and there's about I've seen a number 41 students. Is that a number that's been bandied about? I think that's somewhere between like 40 and 60 people.
Is that just the people camping out, or do more people dip in?
People come and go. People come and give drop off food, come and ask questions, come in for lectures.
Like that girl in America who said that we've been denied humanitarian aid.
Oh, yeah. People drop off humanitarian
What
aid.
a clown.
And they have like open air lectures. When I was there, a lecturer from, I think it was King's College London, came to give an open air teaching in the encampment.
Sorry, okay, so when you said people were coming for lectures, I thought you meant Cambridge students were coming and going to receive their normal teaching in the college. No, in the encampment, they're like doing education.
They're doing like teachings, but then they also are going to their university obligations at the same time. They're just sleeping in. Yeah, they're doing like homework and stuff.
What are they doing in their teachings? Are they learning about protest, or are they learning about Palestine?
I think it's everything. I think it's mostly probably about Palestine and stuff. I think like the lecture on Friday.
It's being delivered by a lecturer.
Yeah. People are like volunteering.
That's extraordinary.
There's staff observers who are like members of staff at the university are coming to like show solidarity. There's police liaison officers. There's media liaison officers. There's an onboarding team. It's incredibly like...
There's an onboarding team?
Yeah. Of like what's expected to you.
If you apply for the encampment, you get onboarded.
Yeah. They have like it's professional. It's like...
I was about to say, it's like joining a job.
Yeah. It's like...
So that's why there's quite a few... There's not that many of them, because it's like quite a serious organisation, slick organisation.
I think also... I think it's like...
Are they selective? Do you have to interview?
I think if you're bad, I think if you're a bad vibe, I think if you're a bad culture fit.
Can you imagine getting kicked out of the fucking encampment?
There was
just really lowering the vibe, man.
I spoke to a student because there's these encampments all over the country. I spoke to a student at Warwick who was on the Warwick encampment, and they said kind of drunk people were trying to disrupt the encampment in the middle of the night after like rugby socials or something. Like someone's coming to like
so funny that like in the States, if you do this, you're at risk of someone like driving their fucking Toyota Corolla into the camp and like emptying a canister of bear mace into your face.
Yep.
In the UK, you're at risk of basically like the engineers' second rugby team, you know, like picking up one of your tents and throwing it into a river. Like
the stakes are quite different.
British campus culture is so different to American. Although actually, I'd be interested to hear maybe if these guys are take themselves as seriously as the Americans do, like Little Miss Humanitarian Aid.
Whoever put Little Miss Humanitarian Aid up for media, and not even just like a small outlet, put her up to the world's media, should have briefed her. Okay, so what's happening here, right? Okay, this is not we don't have two states here, and you're not being cut off from food and water. That's not happening. Okay, you've just occupied a building.
See, that's interesting because that must have been a fucking massive breakdown of protocol or something like that, because they only really let you speak to or want you to speak to like the media trained people. Like if you speak to like a random student in the encampment, they will be like, oh no, you need to speak to like the media liaison officer. They don't want to take no one wants to assume the responsibility of being the story. And also, if you try and speak
that's fair.
I think it's fair enough as well.
Because the way that your words can get taken out of
definitely.
Context.
It's quite a good tactic, because they force you. They're only going to talk about Gaza, so they force you to ask questions about Gaza. Because like if you're producing a 3-minute radio package, and they're not being drawn on what's life like living in a tent or something like that, they have to fill those 3 minutes with something. So it might as well be their demands. And so, like for example, I spoke to a woman who's completing her PhD, and I was like, oh, it must be hard writing a PhD in you're 10. And she was like, well, it's not as hard as the Palestinian students who don't have universities anymore. And you're like, well, I feel like a knob for asking that question. So I'm going to ask about Gaza. Like, it's a really smart, disciplined
journalist,
tactic.
Schooled.
Yeah, no, fully. I was like an absolute...
Would you say you were schooled at Cambridge?
I was schooled. No, hopefully.
Still dreaming.
Once again, just at the interview stage.
Failed the interview stage twice.
Nice. What are their demands?
What are their demands? God, there's a handy list somewhere. They want to disclose financial and professional ties with organisations complicit in the genocide in Gaza, divest funds and collaborations away from such organisations, reinvest in Palestinian students, academics and scholars, protect students at risk and become a university of sanctuary.
I think I need that in simpler language. I need sort of like
what Ava's saying is she wouldn't have been schooled at the interview. She would have ripped these people to pieces.
But what I mean is, like, I would like, could you give us examples of organisations that are complicit?
So they might have shares in Caterpillar, which they use the Caterpillar bulldozers to take down like Palestinian residences when their settlers build on those things.
That's probably a good brand.
Like Barclays, there's massive
hummus
attempts to. Yeah, I don't think Sabra is one of the ones that they want to. In this instance in particular.
How do you know they're not selling that in the canteen?
Because I think they might have done something about it. I think that might be quite a Route 1 approach to for the Cambridge Palestinian Solidarity Campaign, is to stop selling Sabra hummus.
Rishi Sunak has responded to these protests by inviting some university leaders into Downing Street to discuss rising anti-Semitism on campuses. What you said, the vibe was quite serious and professional at these places. I mean, was there any sort of sense of? I'm not asking you to describe these people as anti-Semites or not. I'm asking the question because I want to establish whether or not there is a legitimate risk of anti-Semitism at these places, or if Rishi Sunak is kind of possibly trying to play a little bit of a culture war here, in that, these campus protests have kicked off, so I'll invite some university leaders in to discuss anti-Semitism, because by inference it then means you're sort of pointing to people and saying, look at these things going on. Without saying, I think they're anti-Semitic, you're leaving people to make the connection between the two things.
I think I spoke to the media liaison officer, whose code name was Joseph.
Come on. We'll get a bit inventive with it, for fuck's sake.
Well, like,
what's your code name? John? Like,
I thought you meant because it's like of Nazareth.
That's actually quite good. Yeah, I like that.
That's what I thought.
Was it of Nazareth?
No, just
anyway,
Joseph.
Now that we're back on Catholicism.
No, but if I said to you, come up with a code name, you'd want like Eagle, wouldn't you? Nighthawk.
Sick.
Dragon.
Yeah.
What's your code name? Joseph.
Gladiator. Sagittarius.
Yeah, Gladiator's good, isn't it?
Maximus.
Maximus is good.
Yeah.
That would be good. We should come up with a list.
Caesar.
They've got a list of demands. We've got a list of
Medusa.
suggested code names for you.
Medusa's good.
Yeah.
Medusa is good.
You want to go Greek, really, don't you, with your code name?
Odysseus.
Because the camp
Heracles.
the camp can be Babylon.
Very strong. Yeah, I like that.
You know?
Yeah, Olympus.
Yeah.
Olympus. Athena, good one. Zeus. I think
And
Zeus
then you
is
could
strong.
have 7
Zeus is
universities all connected, and then it could be the 7 wonders.
Yeah.
That is good.
Colossus.
Get them on the phone.
Yeah. We are going to sort this fucking tin pot operation out. None of us could get into Oxbridge. We're going to tell you how to fucking sort this right out.
My code name, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah.
I asked.
Which also may not have existed.
Yes.
So it's sort of like Schrodinger's camp.
I asked.
Do you ever just look up artist impressions of the Colossus of Rhodes?
This came up on my TikTok this morning. And it was like, these are the 7 wonders of the world, ancient world. And my first thought was, we could all build those all so easily now. God, they were easily impressed.
Well, that's what you think about Stonehenge, really, isn't it? So
Oh yeah, that's like
that's
an afternoon's work.
Yeah. You think about it and you go, I've seen this like outside like rail depots where they've like had to move rock out of the way to build the train tracks. Oh, do you know what was a very good line Harry rinsed me for when we went to Dover last week? Was when we got to Dover, I pointed to these cliffs and I was like, are they the white cliffs? He was like, well, there's cliffs and they're white and we are in Dover. I was like, oh yeah.
Nothing gets past
This
us.
is my Cambridge interview.
That's where I feel like, what are these? I was like,
I saw the white cliffs of England's green and pleasant land for the first time from a plane the other day. I don't know if you've ever caught the conditions, when conditions are perfect. Clearly, I haven't. But I was looking out the window, and as we flew over the channel, I saw the cliffs. And I just, it warmed the cockles of my heart.
are you seeing that? Was that the first time you've seen them?
No, sorry. I've seen the cliffs.
Sorry,
I've been to Dover
Yeah.
and looked at the cliffs and was like, oh, that's the white cliffs of Dover.
I was thinking, you and I have been to Dover. I was like,
No.
Ollie didn't realise they were the white cliffs. Either.
Sorry, I meant aerially.
Right.
I saw it from
aerially.
from a sort of position of scale along
bird's
the
eye
coast.
view.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Exactly.
and it is quite majestic.
What were you doing in the cockpit?
Cockfighting.
Fancy word for masturbation?
There was like, though I did see a TikTok the other day that was like someone had asked them, they're like, why can't you bring your kids into the cockpit anymore? Like all these people replying like, yeah, why can't you do that? You stupid fucks.
Yeah, isn't it lockable doors post 9/11?
Yeah.
And then you always have to be accompanied, since that bloke fucking teed the plane into the Alps.
Oh shit!
They get him accompanied, like the pilot, by like they accidentally pick out the terrorist from the cabin. Could you just the co-pilot needs to go to the bathroom. Do you mind just sitting in here a minute?
An unaccompanied minor is on the plane and needs an adult to go with them to the.
No,
the
he actually has
cockpit.
to take a minor with him to the bathroom.
For God's sake. That is what happened, though, isn't it? Since that guy who flew the plane into the Alps.
I didn't know that was a rogue fella.
Yeah, there was that.
I remember the story. I don't remember the details.
He was
I thought
depressed.
Oh, really?
I'm riffing. I don't know the exact. I'm pretty sure. I'm 90% sure that's what happened.
I think it's always good to riff when you're on a podcast.
I mean, that is essentially the format, isn't it?
Let
me have a look.
I thought I would have just assumed it would have been in reaction to 9/11.
Yeah, that was the
Were they-
lockable doors, but then they created the 2 people at all times policy because the guy locked the door.
Yeah, let me back in.
The thing is with
Yeah.
aeroplanes like this, it's really good. You've got to try and fail.
God, nearly 10 years ago.
Find the niche.
Andreas Lubitz deliberately flew German airliner Germanwings flight 9525 into the French Alps, instantly
Holy
killing himself
shit.
and the other 149 people on board.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he locked
Dudes
rock.
rock.
That's not a dude's rock there. That's a mark against
Well, it is.
dudes
It was a
there.
dude crashing into a rock.
Into a
If we're
rock,
going to be
very good.
pedantic.
Dude's possessive rock.
I guess it's, if you're like a suicidal dude, then it is kind of a dude's rock way to kill yourself, isn't it? Because it's like, we're all fucking going down.
There's murder as well, though, isn't it?
I guess so, but you can't really stand
Manslaughter,
trial
'cause I
once you're
guess
dead,
if-
can you?
No, it's still murder.
Murder most foul. How does Catholicism stand on
Murder, anti.
flying a Germanwings flight into the Alps?
Suicide's not allowed in Catholicism. You're only recently have you been allowed in the graveyard.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And what about the murder of the other 150 passengers?
Yeah, I don't think they'd be too pleased with that. But,
Yeah, it probably doesn't fly, does
but then,
it?
but the thing
Neither
is,
does that guy anymore.
if you crashed it and then you had a minute there before you didn't die instantly, and you had a priest on site available to give you last rites, by doctrine, I think you would be allowed through the gates of heaven.
But I think, does that require the priest surviving the landing?
No, but you could. The priest might be local,
Like there. He might live in an Alps monastery.
or he's been waiting. Yeah.
Yep. The guy might not have been Catholic as well. Perish the thought.
Well,
but
you could. I don't know if he'd have it in him to be baptized at that point, would he?
If I was in those circumstances, if I was on the plane, being a godless fuck, and we were all there, dying, and the priest also there, could he administer the last rites to me?
Are you baptized?
Yes,
Then yes.
but I don't think in the Catholic Church.
Then no.
So you have to have had a Catholic baptism.
last rites is just Catholics, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, but if I wasn't, necessarily a Catholic, but I nonetheless wanted the last rites, would the priest be like, no bueno?
Well,
He's a Spanish monk travelling through the French Alps.
it wouldn't apply. Because he wouldn't. I don't think he would say no and start. I think he would be like, I can't give you the sacrament because you don't.
It'd be like you can
It's like if you're, I don't know, if you wanted to go and apply for an HGV license but you don't have a driving license.
Or if you just decided you wanted the bar mitzvah.
Is that the same?
But you won't, no, because you need the base, you need the driving license and then go and apply for the HGV, right?
But in this
Otherwise
context,
you turn up at HGV training camp and they go, well, where's your driving license? And he goes, I'm a Protestant.
And Protestants can't drive.
Protestants don't need driving licenses.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's actually like it's a really outdated sectarian law. The same way Catholics can't be king of England.
Protestants don't need driving licenses.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the encampment stuff?
I'd like to answer the question you asked me about 6 minutes ago.
Please, yeah. Remind the audience what the question was.
The question was whether or not there are serious, whether or not the accusations of anti-Semitism in these encampments
Fucking hell, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Yeah.
I've been sitting on it first.
Well, you've thought about your answer now.
So I spoke to Joseph and asked that question, and he said, we take any accusations of anti-Semitism incredibly seriously. He was basically saying, we don't invalidate any accusations of anti-Semitism. Obviously there's a large group of people here. There's propensity for that. But there were lots of Jewish people camping out. There was like a sign that said Cambridge Jews for Palestine. There was a Jewish presence at the camp, and I think he was like, we don't want to invalidate anyone's feelings or their reaction to this. So it was quite like a nuanced take. It wasn't a blanket. There's been no anti-Semitism in this camp. But I think in times of heightened tensions on campuses, I think Sunak's comments were not necessarily related to just the encampments, as in times of heightened tensions for the Jewish community across Britain.
Yeah, I think he had poor framing. I think that his framing was capitalising on the culture war. Because it's entirely true to say that there have been there's been a vast, massive increase in incidents of anti-Semitism. To frame it as sort of a press release and sort of in the way that he did, it seems like you're actually inflaming tensions because you're like, wow, look what we're going to do for this group of people, and we're not going to do anything for the other group of people. It just seems like quite a childish way for me to do politics. It feels like politicking.
Yes.
Rather than actually, like it genuinely, it is really, really sad that the police have to be aware of Jewish schools in North London.
Yeah.
I find that really,
it is.
really sad.
It is, and he should be focusing on things like that rather than
do
these
something
like
about
kumbaya communal dinner having camps.
Yeah, and you think about the rise in we have to call it. We can't call it Islamophobia anymore, have we? Minister for Common Sense has told us we've got to call it anti-Muslim hate. Fuck off. Anyway, that's on the rise too. What are you doing about that? It should be your role in government to sort of de-escalate tensions rather than try to fuel them for a headline.
Speaking of de-escalation, when I was speaking to a woman whose code name was Dragonfly,
That's better.
That's much better.
Way better. I was about to interview her, and this older man, I'd say like early 60s, came up to her and said, so they're behind a wall against the walls of King's College. We were standing on the street. This man came up to us and said, is it okay if I film a video of this? And she said, yeah, sure, but we're just trying to ask people not to show people's faces in the videos. And the man goes, I'm going to do it anyway. And the Dragonfly goes, okay, why did you ask? What was this? And he was just trying to draw her into an argument about it. He was trying to create something he could film of him arguing with one of the students. And kind of to her credit, she did not rise to him in any way. She tried to de-escalate the situations. Because they have I think they have to go through.
Would you say that Dragonfly rose above the pond scum? Would that be one way of describing it?
Yes, absolutely.
Could I describe it as that?
You could. And so they have to be, they've all been trained in kind of de-escalation tactics. If people come and want to argue, they respond in a way that's not going to aggravate them or antagonize them.
Well, Palestine Action has always been a very well coordinated
Yeah, Palestine Action
protest
is
group.
crazy coordinated.
So coordinated. They've been doing this for years and years. That was also why it was ludicrous when people were shouting, "Where were you the last few years?" It's like, they've been here. They've been shutting down arms factories for quite some time. Mm-hmm. Lord Wolney, he has written a report, hasn't he, about banning them altogether.
John Woodcock, that's the fucker.
What?
That's his real name.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry.
Is his code name?
Code name Woodcock.
John Woodcock.
That's a good one, actually.
John Hancock.
He would like to
Terrible in the cockpit.
prescribe, actually. Well, he would like to make them a terrorist organisation. Palestine Action and Just Stop Oil are top of the bidding, which feels like a really normal way to react to large groups of people saying, please, can you pressure Netanyahu into a ceasefire? And please, could you just stop the export licenses? Instead, you go, nope, you're all terrorists.
Break the emergency
we
glass
are
button.
all domestic terrorists. Yeah.
It's interesting though, people's I think a lot of the media have been very frustrated with how the students won't talk to them.
They haven't given them enough crank shit. They want like nutters.
They want nutters, but then also as well they're fully aware that they've seen how the right-wing media has reported on these people for the past decade in these kind of horizontal left-wing movements. They've learned their lesson. If they kept falling for it, if they kept speaking to the right-wing media, then they'd be like, oh, you idiots, you've fallen for it again. But now they've learned the lessons of engaging with these people, and now the right-wing media is eating shit.
I think it's good to have, going back to what I was saying earlier about like there being like a proper list of demands. That was always where I felt Just Stop Oil fell short. It was last year where it was the big summer of action, right? When they went to like the Chelsea horticultural show and they did like gluing themselves. Oh no, it was the summer before that, wasn't it? When it was the big one. And then they do this big stunt, like they glue themselves to like Old Street Roundabout or like, I don't know, set something off, like some paint off. And then they'd have their moment to speak and everyone would be like waiting to film them, like, what do you want? And they'd have nothing to say and they'd like completely fluff it. And you'd go, you need to decide what you want before you do the stunt. Because now they have a clear line where they say no new oil export license. Excuse me, export licenses on the brain. No new licenses for oil and gas.
Yep.
Good, clean demand.
Yeah.
Nice and clean demand that.
It's good messaging, isn't it? It's good comms.
But before sometimes I remember filming one of them and she just started shouting like, we have seen, and then completely forgot the rest of it. We have seen. And I brought it back to the office and showed you and you were like, what are we going to do with it?
She's absolutely shat the bed.
Yeah.
It's tough though, isn't it? Well, you do something like that, it's probably quite a nervous environment for someone, isn't it?
No, of course it is. Don't make me look like a dick.
God, so I'm sympathetic of you, Ava.
But if you can't say it afterwards, which is just fine because some people don't like public speaking or can't do public speaking, have a sign. Have a flyer, have a leaflet. Have something.
I think being a good public speaker should be like part of the job description though, for like gluing yourself to a painting.
It's rich from someone who couldn't get through their Cambridge interview, isn't it?
Well, that's not a public interview.
I suppose so, you're right, yeah.
It's private, I failed.
I failed privately. Natalie Elf, should we move on? Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I think we're good.
Great. When's the piece coming out? Soon?
Great question.
Get back to me on that point, I guess.
They'll find out.
They'll see it.
Turn notifications on and you'll find out.
Yeah, do turn notifications on. Do turn the notifications on. Okay, let's do Elphick. Let's do Natalie Elphick.
I've actually put a convenient question there. So if you wanted to tee it up and then ask the question, you could do that.
Okay, Ava, in the light.
No, don't be a dick about it.
No. I'm saying Ava as in I'm asking you a question. I'm going, okay, Ava.
Right, okay.
In the context of Natalie Elphick's defection to the Labour Party last week, have Labour squandered their chances of gaining Dover at the next election?
Oh, what an insightful question.
Was that like something's law of headlines? Like
Maslow's law of headlines.
The answer's always no.
The answer, if the headline is a question, the answer is always no.
Maslow's law of headlines.
Hierarchy of headlines.
Hierarchy of headlines. Right at the top. Okay, right at the top is that Telegraph piece over the weekend that was like, I'm voting Israel in Eurovision to like spurn the woke. That's the pinnacle. And then the base is 34,000 people dead in Gaza.
Someone called me a woke, like as in noun.
Ooh,
like you're just
like that.
you're just awoke.
Do you think it was a woke ... new sentence?
No. He was like, you're one of those wokes.
Ooh,
He was using woke as a noun.
and a
Did you-
pejorative.
Did you get it on the ticker? Like it was like a messaging, or was it?
No,
a
it was
tweet,
on the
or-
phone. It was on the phone.
Someone on the phone.
Yeah, called me a
Oh,
woke.
sorry, on the call. During the phone-in show.
Yeah. No, sorry. I didn't just get like
Telemarketing.
It was my father.
No, I don't want a phone contract with O2. Well, you're just a fucking woke then, aren't you, son? No.
I got all my cards blocked at Argos yesterday morning.
That's not fun.
How many cards have you got?
You've been debanked.
3. I felt like Nigel Farage during the Coots saga. I got all three blocked with absolutely no explanation. And when I phoned NatWest, they were like, it's very, very unusual for you to be purchasing things at Argos. Where am I normally? Like,
Never Argos. Never buying outdoor furniture.
I wasn't buying outdoor furniture.
Garden furniture.
guessing.
It's getting to garden furniture time of year, isn't it? Like a long afternoon in someone's garden, just fucking caning the beers.
Ooh, Mr. Millionaire's friends have gardens.
All your woke.
I'm looking forward. Yeah, wokes.
Woke
Me
broadcast.
and the other wokes, we convene on a sunny afternoon and we drink cold beer from a bottle, not a can, because we are woke in the sun. Yeah.
Couple of pale ales.
Couple of pale ales, some of the nuclear poppers from Soho. We have a great old time.
That's an afternoon.
Can't quite see it in this brown bottle, but it's actually very cloudy.
A real hoppy flavour to this one.
Can you smell that? Smell those sweet notes.
Someone's been...
My arsehole's open.
Jeremy shitting.
Right.
Jeremy can't control
John T.
his
shat
sphincter.
himself.
All these two best friends are Jeremy and John T.
Yeah. Me, sober and awake, being let's barely touch the sides.
He's
Jeremy
going,
and John T. out cold.
Ollie will only answer if he's addressed as Dragonfly.
How about that question I asked you then?
Oh yeah, that incredibly insightful question.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Ollie, I went to Dover on Thursday
Hey.
to talk to constituents about the fallout from Natalie Elphick's defection.
Yes.
What was really interesting to me, and I was thinking about this over the weekend. So Mike Tapp is the candidate who was selected by Labour to stand at the next election. And Labour have quite good standing at taking that constituency. And they've picked this ex-soldier, and it's really in sort of the Morgan McSweeney, who's a Labour strategist, that kind of school of thought. It's that kind of like, we're going to present soldiers to the public to sort of pick up that Johnsonian Brexit 2019 vote. You can come back to us. We're going to look after the homeless veterans, the incumbent Conservative MP, let all these small boats come over, and they took your housing, and we left veterans on the streets.
They put him up, didn't they, before Starmer's speech in Dover on Friday? He did like a little, hi, I'm Mike, and I used to be a soldier, and I love Keir Starmer thing, didn't he, at the speech?
I would like to say that I wonder if that's because of that Vox that went out, in which people said, oh, is Mike Tapp still standing? We assumed that it was Natalie Elphick who would be the next candidate.
Yeah.
And so Labour felt they had maybe... not off the video, I'm just being facetious, but Labour did have to clarify who was standing at the next election. And quite a feeling amongst constituents is that they sort of shot themselves in the foot with this, because rather than having this like good couple of months where they could really present this soldier to the public, they've now got what is ultimately a failed Conservative MP who did not achieve for the constituency during her time in office, and her predecessor, her husband, did neither. And so now they've got, basically constituents might get confused and think, I'm not voting for a former Tory, and Mike Tapp will lose out.
What do we think about the things that she said in relation to her husband's conviction for 3 different counts of sexual assault with 2 women? And the reason I ask that question is because I know I've certainly been a little bit inclined to be like, what a horrible, spiteful, malicious thing to say, right? You know, he's attractive. He's attractive to women, and he's attracted to women, or whatever it was she said, and try and sort of minimise what he's doing. Because I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I wonder if, like, you're married to someone, and then they commit a serious sexual assault for which they're sent to prison. That would fuck with your head, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. And I wonder if we've been a little bit too quick to go in on her on that. Like, there's interview tape where she's like crying and stuff. You know, I'm not trying to be like, oh, woe is Natalie Elphicke, but I wonder if that's clearly like a very traumatic time for her. But not only is your husband cheated on you, he's cheated on you by assaulting someone. Mm-hmm. He's then going to prison. Like, there's a lot happening there, isn't there?
But she never rode back from it. If that was the case, then...
I think she apologised, didn't she?
I suppose there is quite like a...
Recently, though, not at the time. Yeah.
If you have been... I'm not saying this is the case for them, but hypothetically, if you've been bullied by your husband for many years and you believe whatever your husband tells you, then perhaps there is, you know, a bias there where you think, oh, he couldn't possibly have done this to me. And actually, that's a form of domestic violence.
And it's also a very common refrain that a lot of... sexual violence campaigners will tell you that when a man does get done for this and he's married, very often the wife will sort of attack the victims, right? And because it's very difficult for them to kind of conceptualize the fact, not only for the first time they're hearing that their husband's cheated on them, but actually that he's done something illegal at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing psychologically. So I just wonder, open question, whether we've been a little bit harsh on her.
Well, I think that argument might hold water had she not then mysteriously become the candidate for Conservative MP and then become the Conservative MP and then use that position of privilege. She then used her privilege as MP to lobby Robert Buckland, who was the then Justice Secretary, to move the trial so that it wasn't straight after COVID. And she felt that because she felt the judge who had been chosen would be too harsh on her husband. And then she lobbied the Chief Whip, Mark Spencer, allegedly, that she would to get more comfortable prison arrangements for him.
Those allegations, which she denies appearing in the press over the weekend, feels a little bit too little too late, doesn't it? I mean...
Well, it's opportunistic, isn't it, from whatever...
the source that it came from, which would appear to be Robert Buckland.
Well, I think it was just corroborated by Robert Buckland, but it's confusing to me why Buckland didn't raise it before, because that to me seems like it should have gone straight to the Standards Commissioner.
Maybe because it's politically expedient for him.
Yes. And I think now you're at a point where I actually don't even know if that's anything to do with Natalie Elphicke, but the trusted people that she went to try and look, because she is effectively a woman who went to ask for something and then she was told no, right? The people who kept that under wraps to protect her reputation, I think need to be referred to the Standards Commissioner, because what you've essentially done is you've witnessed a potential breach of the code of conduct.
Well, perverting the Court of Justice potentially, yeah.
And then not done anything about it. Because also, but she was really using her position, because at one point she was even writing on parliamentary literature. There's
so much of this, right? You know, people will often talk about, why is trust in political institutions so low? Why do the public hold politicians in such low regard? And as long as shit like this keeps happening in politics, it's not. You can talk about electing a new prime minister all you want. As long as politicians behave in this manner, people aren't idiots.
No,
people look at the way these guys behave, and they're like, oh, so you just fucking covered that up, did you? You just covered it up. It's like, oh, great that you're telling the Sunday Times about it now, that she's a fucking Labour MP. you dork.
There's one for the other side.
Yeah, and that's why people hate politicians.
Yeah, that's the reason you go and Voxpol people and they're like, oh, politicians are all the same. And you think it's quite like, well, no, actually on the policy platform they're quite different. They make quite different beliefs. But if politicians from all parties...
They're talking about from a moral perspective.
Yeah, I think
behaving like this subpar way, it tarnishes politics for everyone.
Well, yeah, and I think that if this gets proven to be true, because at the moment it's just an allegation that's been denied by her and the Labour Party.
Very good.
If it gets proven that it's true, then the rot that has come to be associated with the Conservatives after Partygate and after the PPE contract scandal and all that public money being siphoned off into Conservatives' pockets, whether they were Lords or not. Anyway, that rot will now become associated with the Labour Party also, because they are potentially harbouring someone who used their privilege for bad means.
I think, I don't know if I actually, will I say that? No, I'm not sure I will say that. Okay, if you're just to go inside baseball with it for a second and say nothing of the morality of it and all the rest of it. If you're the Labour Party and you think we're going to get an MP to defect, contrast this, for example, with like Dan Poulter, that was maybe relevant for about 5 minutes.
Christian Wakeford.
Slightly more from him. This has been in the news agenda for nearly a week now. And if you're a Labour comms guy and you're listening to the bulletins on Radio 1 or whatever else, and all it is MPs are outraged about the defection of Natalie Elphicke. Story moves on. But all most people are hearing is, this actually pretty right-wing person now thinks their political home is in the Labour Party. So if your ambition and aim is to communicate to people who were previously scared by Jeremy Corbyn, have been scared away from the Labour Party and it being potentially left-wing, all you're thinking is, this is great. We've had endless headlines about how this right-wing figure is now welcome in the party. It's achieved exactly what we want it to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're bang on. I think it signals to people who the red wall with people who left the Labour Party in 2019 because of concerns about immigration and Brexit. It's like, they won't think this, and I'm being slightly glib, but great, there's a headbanger. Sick. There's someone who's incredibly anti-immigration in this party. That's what I want. And even if they do lose,
I think they have
Dover
that.
Specifically, then they have the benefit of greater votes elsewhere in the country.
I don't know. I think they had that with the incoming candidate, because they were going to do this real push of Natalie Elphicke failed you on votes. Look at the number of people who are
across the nation
channel. And I think that, they've actually potentially lost the sort of soft, hard approach that they were going to take to migration in that area by bringing someone in who is extremely hard right. I think they've kind of lost the nuance of the debate. And I don't know how much effect Natalie Elphicke will have on the wider country unless during the proper campaign, when they really start campaigning, she's like going to every constituency in the red wall and they're like showing her off, like, here is this former Conservative MP, listen to how awful her views are, Natalie, say something. And then people in the crowd go, oh, yeah, she's heinously right-wing. I will vote for Labour.
But then I suppose that's the only people left in the country who aren't voting for Labour at this point. Like it's incremental gains. Like they've achieved.
I saw a poll that was like 48%.
It's insane. Like, the only people who are still voting for Conservatives are the headbangers. And if you want to make Labour the party of government for the next million years, you need to creep up into that 50-60.
It would be
you need the headbangers.
It would be kind of mad if Labour just achieved a simple majority of vote share. Like if they got more than 50% of the vote. Total vote, that would be pretty nuts.
Because I think people like progressives are like, oh my fucking god, why are you you have so much to play with? Why are you doing these things? And he's like, I want more. I love my delicious share of the vote. Give me my
delicious polling.
I'm totally fascinated by this school of thought that some strategists have. That is, they're concerned about the polling because they don't want the election to turn into a referendum on Starmer. They want it to be a very simple, you hated the Conservatives, vote for Labour instead.
Yeah.
And they're worried that the longer that this goes on, the longer that the Conservatives drag it out by not calling an election, people start inspecting Starmer a bit more, and then they start deciding, actually, is that the man we want for Prime Minister or not? So their thought process when they go to the ballot, instead of Labour or Conservatives, is, do I like Starmer or not? I just think that's such a fascinating...
I think it's such the risk of that, though. Like the polling's been getting worse for the Conservatives as it's been going on, and Rishi Sunak has proven himself to be.
They're just losing.
Ratty.
They're losing like 0.5%, aren't they?
And it's also it's not like Sunak's popular either.
No. I agree with you. The problem would be the potential bounce, where you get, if the economy stabilises and the Bank of England drops the base rate, you've got people look at their houses and they go, I cannot afford the risk of another variable interest spike. And so they just go, I want to keep it how it is, and so I will vote for continuity. And that is most of the swing voters. They just go, right, everything is fine at the moment, let me just keep the waters calm.
We're coming up to an hour, and we haven't even mentioned Vicky Spratt and the interview we've done with her, so I think that'll probably end up being a separate episode.
I think tee it up and just tell them it's coming tomorrow.
Well, Vicky Spratt is coming tomorrow. Get it in your ear holes, get it in your eye holes.
It's like Christmas Eve.
It is like Christmas Eve. The Eye's housing correspondent, housing deep dive, very intelligent and interesting journalist. She's great. We had her on our temporary accommodation documentary as well. She's very good on that. It's a very good interview, if I do say so myself.
It's one for the people who comment on here, like you insufferable students talking shite. Tomorrow is one for you.
She's got the detail.
She's got the detail.
She's deep on the detail. Come to the How the Light Gets In festival a couple of weeks' time. So catch myself and Ava there. We're doing a live podcast as well, so do come to that. Tickets at the link in bio. Like and leave a review.
God,
You should signal what the podcast is.
What podcast?
You're interviewing Aaron Bastani.
I'm interviewing Aaron Bastani. We're talking about demographic aging. The talk is called Brave Old World.
Because I think if you signaled it as a live podcast and people think it's going to be the three of us talking about poo for an hour, they will be disappointed. Widely disappointed.
It's not very hay.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be too happy about it either. No, it's me interviewing Aaron Bastani. And we will publish it on the pod feed if you're not going to make it. We will. The recording is being published on the feed, so you can still hear it. Don't worry.
It's two of the greatest young minds that were available.
Oh, Jesus. Leave a review, like and subscribe.
Comment.
Yeah, write a comment.
Subscribe to the subreddit.
Yep. Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah. Email us if you've got a story.
Send Ed an email.
Yeah. I've had some nice correspondence with listeners.
Ava, any housekeeping?
No, thank you.
No emails for Ava.
Huh?
No emails for Ava.
Don't send... No, what I'd ask you to do actually is to send Ed an email that you want Ava to read, and Ed will then read them all aloud to Ava.
Mm-hmm.
Or act like a secretary.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be good, actually.
Kind of filter.
I do that for you quite a bit. I get emails being like, hi Ava, looking to get in contact with Ollie, and then I send them to Laura, and then Laura pitches it to you. No, genuinely, and then you're like, yeah, we'd like to, yeah, I'll do that. It's like the most ridiculous route round. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that it then?
I think so.
Good pod?
Yeah.
Everybody happy?
Very happy.
Cracking.
Wonderful. Goodbye. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.